Marvel is re-releasing a 6-year-old movie to hype up a new one. And somehow, that's the least insane thing happening in the MCU right now. Because while Disney is planning theatrical encores and IMAX screenings, someone hacked a visual effects studio and dropped trailer footage that Marvel is desperately trying to scrub from the internet. Today, I'm breaking down everything you need to know: the Endgame Encore re-release, the Doomsday leaks, the trailer situation, and the brand new Avengers team lineups that are reportedly being rewritten mid-shoot. There is a lot happening, and most of it raises more questions than it answers. Like, why is the Wasp gone? Why is Captain Marvel not showing up? And what exactly does Doctor Doom want? Drop your prediction in the comments right now before we get into it. Let's find out how deep this rabbit hole actually goes. Endgame Encore. So let's start at the beginning. Avengers Endgame came out in April of 2019. It made $2.79 billion at the global box office. It was, for a brief and glorious moment, the highest grossing film in history. Then Avatar re-released in 2022 with a little extra footage, and it quietly reclaimed that top spot. If you're Kevin Feige sitting in a big chair at Marvel Studios, that has to sting. Not enough to cry about, but enough to do something about it. And now Marvel is doing something about it. The Avengers Endgame re-release is hitting theaters on September 25th. It has officially been given the title Avengers Endgame Encore, which honestly is a great name. It's confident, it's theatrical, it says you asked for it without technically admitting that almost nobody asked for it. The Feige farewell is what happens when Marvel wraps a character in a compliment before retiring them forever. The encore is what happens when they wrap an entire movie in nostalgia before using it to sell a new one. Different move, same energy. Now, what's actually going to be in this re-release? Because re-release on its own means very little. We've seen studios slap 20 seconds of new footage onto an old movie and call it an event. So what are we actually getting this time? According to an exclusive from Deadline, reported in an article titled, "Disney Ramping Up Infinity Vision for Upcoming Tentpoles." The encore will include a custom introduction, additional new footage, and a special end tag. That end tag will be exclusive to Infinity Vision and IMAX releases. Let's talk about what that end tag probably is, because this is where it gets interesting. The most widely discussed theory, and one that lines up cleanly with the direction the MCU has been taking, is that the end tag will center on Steve Rogers. Specifically, the moment at the end of Endgame where Steve goes back in time to return the Infinity Stones and just stays. He lives out an entire life in the past. He grows old, he comes back as an old man and gives Sam Wilson his shield. It's a beautiful moment. It's also, depending on how you look at it, a complete disaster for the timeline. Here's the idea: Steve going back in time and living a full life in the past created changes. Things that were never supposed to happen, happened. Ripple effects across decades. And those ripple effects, according to what multiple sources have been reporting, are the reason the multiverse is now tearing itself apart. These tiers are called incursions. An incursion is when two parallel universes crash into each other and one or both get destroyed. It's the cosmic equivalent of a car crash, except the cars are entire realities and everyone inside them ceases to exist. This is where Doctor Doom comes in. Doom, the villain in the metal mask, a genius, a sorcerer, and a man with absolutely zero patience for other people's messes, reportedly saw this coming. According to what insiders have been suggesting, Doom spent a long time trying to prevent the incursions from happening. He tried to stop the multiverse from collapsing, and at some point he decided that stopping it was no longer possible. So instead, he is going to take control of what's left. His way, on his terms. That is the setup for Avengers Doomsday. And if the Endgame Encore end tag is what stitches these two stories together, if it shows Steve's choice and what it actually broke, then this re-release is doing real narrative work. It's not just a cash grab wearing a costume. Well, it is partly a cash grab, but it's a functional one. More than 7,500 applications from global exhibitor screens have already been submitted to Disney seeking Infinity Vision certification just for this re-release. That number is not nothing. Theaters are fighting for the right to show a 6-year-old film because the new footage attached to it matters that much. And if this encore pushes Endgame back past Avatar on the all-time box office chart, that would be the most Marvel thing that has ever happened. Beating Avatar twice. once on opening weekend and once by re-releasing the movie 6 years later? Drop Encore in the comments if you think Endgame reclaims the top spot. I want to see how many people actually believe it can happen. But here's what nobody is talking about yet. The leaks that came out this week change what we thought we were getting, and the way Marvel responded to them confirms everything. The hack. Here is a sentence you don't hear very often about a Marvel movie that hasn't come out yet. The trailer footage is real. It's been confirmed by copyright takedowns, and it came from a hacked visual effects studio. That's where we are. Let's walk through what happened. In the days leading up to this, footage started appearing online. Short clips, clearly from an Avengers Doomsday trailer or some version of one. At first, Marvel did nothing. The clips stayed up, people watched them. Fans started screenshotting, screen recording, sharing everything they could get their hands on. Then, a short while later, the takedowns started. Marvel Studios filed copyright claims, and the videos began disappearing. Fast, aggressively. If you had a link, you clicked it an hour later and got the copyright removal screen. Now here's the thing about copyright takedowns. Studios do not file them for fake footage. They do not spend legal resources scrubbing fake fan edits from the internet. The fact that Marvel went after this footage hard and fast is the confirmation that the footage is real. That's the logic, and it's airtight. According to several reports, the source of the leak appears to be an outside visual effects studio that was working on Avengers Doomsday. That studio was allegedly hacked. Someone found out they were involved with the film, got in, and pulled the footage. Now, this kind of thing happens more than the studios want to admit. When a film of this size is in production, footage gets sent to outside partners constantly. It goes out for dubbing, it goes out for visual effects work, it goes out for color grading and sound mixing, and a dozen other technical processes. Every hand it passes through is a potential point of vulnerability. With a film this big, with this much secrecy around it, somebody was always going to try. What makes this particular situation more layered is this. According to the same reports, the hacked studio was reportedly also doing work for Sony on Spider-Man Brand New Day. And some sources believe the same hacker who pulled the Doomsday footage may also be responsible for earlier leaks connected to Brand New Day. That's a significant claim, unconfirmed but reported by multiple outlets. If true, this isn't a random act, it's someone who specifically went after Marvel and Sony's biggest upcoming projects at the same time. What was in the footage? Without going into specifics that are still being actively removed from the internet, what viewers described was impressive. Visually striking, the kind of thing that makes you sit up. It was, by all accounts, just a taste of what Doomsday is going to look like on a full screen. And the response from the fan base was loud. People who saw it before the takedowns were not disappointed. Now here's the wrinkle that nobody has fully addressed yet. Some voices online have suggested that this leaked footage might actually be material Marvel was not planning to use. Discarded cuts, early tests, things that didn't make the final film. That claim has not been confirmed by anyone with actual knowledge of the production. And given that Marvel responded with immediate legal action, that they weren't going to use it anyway theory seems like a stretch. Studios don't file copyright claims on their own abandoned footage. They just ignore it. So where does the trailer go from here? Because there is a real trailer coming. One that Marvel controls, one that they choose to release. And the timing of that is the next piece of this puzzle, the trailer timeline. Let's be honest about something. The trailer is coming soon is a sentence that means almost nothing in the world of Marvel announcements. Soon has covered windows ranging from 2 weeks to 14 months depending on who's saying it and what they're trying not to say. So when insiders started hinting this week that there is news coming about the Avengers Doomsday trailer, the important word is not soon. The important word is where. San Diego Comic-Con. That's what the reporting is pointing to. The Beyond reporter, who has been tracking this closely, reported that there is Doomsday trailer news incoming, but it's something most people already suspect. And if you know how Marvel operates at big public events, the answer writes itself. SDCC Hall H, the biggest stage in fan culture, held every July, where Marvel has historically dropped its most important announcements. Here's what makes SDCC specifically the right call for this trailer. Spider-Man Brand New Day is reportedly getting its own dedicated Hall H panel. That's significant because it takes Spider-Man off the table as a Hall H surprise. He already has his own event. That means the remaining space in the Marvel Hall H presentation is almost entirely about Avengers Doomsday. There's also Vision Quest on the horizon, the Disney Plus series continuing Wanda's story in a completely different direction, but you can't really preview a show when you don't know what the movies before it are going to set up yet. The dominoes have to fall in order. So what Hall H looks like, based on everything being reported, is this. Marvel comes out, gives a big Doomsday presentation, and drops the trailer publicly, meaning they release it online at the exact same moment they show it inside Hall H. This is standard Marvel practice for their biggest moments. They learned years ago that if you show something in a room of 10,000 people who all have phones, it's on the internet within 60 seconds whether you like it or not, so you control it, you release it simultaneously. You own the moment instead of chasing it. Now here's a prediction challenge. Before I tell you what insiders are saying about the tone and content of this trailer, drop your prediction in the comments. What is the very first image you think they show in the official Doomsday trailer? The opening shot, what do you think it is? I'll be checking the comments and I want to see how many people get it right when the trailer actually drops. Here's what we do know. At CinemaCon earlier this year, Marvel showed a small taste of Doomsday footage to industry attendees. By all accounts, the room responded well. The footage was not released publicly, but people who were in that room came out talking. That footage, combined with the leaked material that has since been taken down, has given the fanbase a real sense that this movie looks different from what Marvel has been putting out in Phase 4 and 5. More serious, bigger in scale, more grounded in consequence. One thing to note, IMAX will be involved with Doomsday as confirmed. This is not a formatting trick. IMAX changes how a film is shot and framed. Certain sequences are filmed with larger aspect ratio cameras that expand the picture vertically. If the Doomsday trailer drops at SDCC and it's formatted for IMAX, the visual difference from a standard Marvel trailer will be immediately obvious. That alone will generate conversation. Now, what about the actual teams showing up in Doomsday? Because the roster has been changing, and one of the changes is genuinely surprising: the Avengers lineup. Let's talk about the teams. Because Avengers tokens Doomsday has multiple groups of people operating under that name, and sorting out who is actually on whose side, and who is even in the movie at all, is more complicated than it sounds. Start with Sam Wilson. Sam is Captain America now. He took the shield at the end of Avengers Endgame, when old Steve Rogers passed it to him. He proved himself in Captain America: Brave New World. He is, in the eyes of the story, the new leader of the core Avengers. And according to insider James Mack, whose recent reports have been corroborated by official footage and confirmed trailer details, Sam's Avengers team in Doomsday is going to be leaner than people expected. Here's what Mack reported as the expected team versus what it will actually be. The expected lineup included Captain America Sam Wilson, Falcon, who would be someone else carrying on that role, Thor, Ant-Man, the Wasp, Shuri as the Black Panther, Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, and Spider-Man. That is a big, crowded team. Lots of faces, lots of screen time to juggle. A lot of storylines to service in one film. The actual team, according to Mack's report, is Captain America, Falcon, Thor, Ant-Man, and Shuri. That's it, 5 people, half the expected roster, gone. Now let's go through the cut characters and understand why each one makes sense. The Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly, has publicly stated she is stepping back from acting. She also made some pointed comments about Disney that were hard to walk back. Whether the departure is personal, contractual, or some combination, she appears to be done. Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, the older generation of Ant-Man characters, also do not appear to be in the film. Their storyline in the Ant-Man series landed softly, and there's no reporting suggesting they filmed anything for Doomsday. Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter who became a hero in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, does appear to be involved. There are indications she shows up, which makes sense given Scott is clearly a central figure. Speaking of Scott, Ant-Man's power is shrinking. He defeated a time-traveling conqueror because a rat stepped on a button. That is the official MCU canon, and it is funnier every single time you say it out loud. But Scott is in Doomsday, and Cassie being there alongside him fits the emotional through line of his arc. Captain Marvel not being in the film is notable. Carol Danvers is one of the most powerful beings in the MCU. She can fly through space. She glows. She's beaten things that would kill most of the other Avengers without breaking a sweat. And yet no reports of her being in Doomsday. No set photos. No insider mentions. She is apparently sitting this one out, which raises questions about where her story is going. She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, also appears to be absent. Her Disney Plus series was divisive, to put it gently. Whether that's a factor in the decision to leave her out of Doomsday, or whether it's purely a story structure choice, the result is the same. She's not there. Spider-Man is the most interesting absence because Peter Parker is genuinely beloved and his omission feels intentional rather than incidental. What we've been hearing from multiple sources is that Spider-Man, along with several other major characters, is being saved for Avengers Secret Wars. The idea reportedly is that Secret Wars is the true convergence, the everything plus everyone movie. Doomsday sets the table, Secret Wars is the meal. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit subscribe. There's a lot more coming as we get closer to Doomsday and the roster keeps shifting. Now, what about the other team? Because Sam Wilson's Avengers are not the only group calling themselves that name. There is a second squad, and their storyline just got rewritten, the Thunderbolts problem. Here is the part of the Avengers Doomsday story that almost nobody is paying close enough attention to. For a long time, the plan for this movie included a real clash between two groups who both thought they were the Avengers. On one side, Sam Wilson's team, the legitimate line of succession from the original group. On the other side, the Thunderbolts, a team of morally complicated characters assembled by Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, a government operator who has been quietly collecting broken weapons and sharpening them into a usable squad. The Thunderbolts, for anyone who needs context, are basically the government's answer to what if the Avengers but cheaper and easier to control. The team includes characters like Yelena Belova, Natasha Romanoff's sister, a trained assassin who is somehow one of the most likable people in the MCU, Bucky Barnes, Ghost, Taskmaster, Red Guardian, and US Agent. Their Disney Plus film, simply titled Thunderbolts, already came out and established them as a functioning, if deeply dysfunctional unit. Valentina even set them up in what is now being called Thunderbolts Tower, or the New Avengers Tower. The original plan for Doomsday, according to James Mack, was to have these two teams in genuine conflict for a meaningful portion of the movie. The Avengers with an S versus the Avengers with a Z, as the report put it. Competing claims to the name, competing visions of what that name should mean, and a tension that would simmer across multiple scenes before eventually resolving, but the reshoots changed that. According to Max reporting, the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed the original Avengers films and are back for Doomsday, decided this plotline was too much. The specific phrase used was too over the top. The multi-scene conflict between the two teams is apparently gone from the current cut. Instead, both groups meet at Thunderbolts Tower in a single scene and work things out there, and honestly, that's probably the right call. Here's why. When the stakes of a film are literally the destruction of all of existence across every timeline and dimension, spending a significant portion of your runtime on "but who gets to be called the Avengers" starts to feel petty. The audience can feel that mismatch. Marvel has been burned before by subplots that drag while the main threat is waiting. If Doom is out there rewriting reality, Thor giving a speech that unites both teams in one scene and moving on is cleaner storytelling. Thor's speech reportedly is one of the standout moments in the Thunderbolts Tower sequence. The idea, based on what's been reported, is that Thor reframes the situation. This isn't a territorial dispute, it's an extinction event. And suddenly the question of whose name goes on the door of the tower becomes irrelevant. You can debate branding after you've saved the multiverse. Or you can do what Thor apparently does and make that argument in one speech, loud and sincere, in a way that makes both teams stop arguing and start listening. This is actually smart character deployment. Thor has been in every major Avengers film. He has the history, the authority, and the dramatic weight to be the one who calls everyone to attention. Putting that moment in his hands makes it land harder than if it came from a newer character. Now here's the screen time picture that's emerging from Max reporting. He stated that Yelena Belova is the female character with the most screen time in Avengers Doomsday. That's a significant statement. Not Captain Marvel, not Shuri, not She-Hulk, Yelena. which tells you something about how central the Thunderbolts thread is going to be even after the inter-team conflict got trimmed. Yelena carries the emotional weight on the female character side, and the male character with the most screen time is obviously Doctor Doom himself. Which brings us to the most important conversation in this entire video, because Robert Downey Jr. is back, and he is not playing Tony Stark, Doom, RDJ, and what comes next. Robert Downey Jr. spent 11 years playing Tony Stark. Tony Stark died in Avengers Endgame. He snapped his fingers, reversed Thanos' genocide, and died from the energy discharge. It was one of the most watched deaths in movie history. And then Marvel called Robert Downey Jr. and said, "We'd like you to come back, but as the villain this time." And he said yes. This is the part where, if you haven't been following closely, you need to stop and actually sit with that information. The actor who played the hero who saved everything is now playing the man in the iron mask who may destroy it. That is not a small creative swing, that is a full reversal. On paper, it sounds like either a stroke of genius or a catastrophic mistake depending on your tolerance for metacasting. Doctor Doom is one of the most important characters in Marvel Comics history. He is not simply a villain in the traditional sense, he is a ruler, he is a scientist. He is a sorcerer. He controls an entire nation, Latveria, with an iron fist and genuinely believes he is doing the right thing. That last part is what makes him interesting. Doom doesn't think he's the bad guy. Doom thinks everyone else is the bad guy, and he is the only one competent enough to fix what they broke. In the context of Doomsday, that philosophy maps perfectly onto the incursion problem. The multiverse is collapsing because of choices that were made. Choices like Steve Rogers going back in time and creating a new life that changed history. Doom reportedly has seen this coming for a long time. He tried to stop it the right way. At some point, he gave up on doing it the right way and decided to do it his way instead. That shift from protector to conqueror is the dramatic engine of the entire film. Now, what about the larger roster that James Mack teased in a separate tweet? He listed across 2 posts, Defenders, Spider-Man, Avengers, Champions, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Tala, Neymar, and possibly Blade. That is an enormous list of groups and characters. And the critical question is whether he's talking about Doomsday or Secret Wars. Based on the context and the way it was framed, the smart money is on Secret Wars, because Doomsday already has a confirmed roster that is notably focused and contained. 5 Avengers on Sam's team, the Thunderbolts, Doctor Doom, and various supporting characters. Secret Wars, by contrast, is meant to be the everything at once movie, the one where every thread gets pulled together. The Defenders, the Netflix heroes Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, have been coming back in various forms. Daredevil is already in Born Again. The Punisher is reportedly appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Having the Defenders involved in Secret Wars rather than Doomsday is a sensible choice. Let them re-establish themselves in their own stories first, then bring them into the biggest event. Same logic applies to Spider-Man, to the X-Men who are still being introduced, to the Champions, to a fully assembled Fantastic Four. Blade is its own interesting thread. The Mahershala Ali version of Blade has been in development limbo for years. Wesley Snipes played the character across 3 films in the late 90s and early 2000s, and his version of Blade genuinely helped launch the era of modern superhero movies. Blade 1998 came out before the X-Men films, before Spider-Man, before any of this existed as a genre. If either version of Blade shows up in Secret Wars, it will be one of the loudest moments in the theater. What about the Hulk? Because this is a genuine open question right now. According to prediction markets on Kalshi, 56% of people think the Hulk will appear in Avengers Doomsday. 44% think he won't. That split is telling. There's no confirmed set photo, no insider saying definitively that Bruce Banner filmed anything, but the Hulk's recent arc has been building towards something. World War Hulk has been teased. Smart Hulk, the version where Bruce Banner controls the big green body, has been around since Endgame. There's a story to be told there. Whether it happens in Doomsday or gets saved for Secret Wars is the part nobody knows yet. Name one Avenger who could go toe-to-toe with Doom in a fight. Just one. Drop it in the comments. I'll be looking. Here is the full picture as it stands. Avengers Doomsday is mid-production. Reshoots are happening right now. The team lineup for Sam Wilson's Avengers has been trimmed from a large group down to 5 confirmed members. The Thunderbolts versus Avengers conflict has been cut from a running subplot to a single scene. The trailer is expected at SDCC Hall H, dropped publicly at the same time it's shown in the room. The Endgame Encore hits September 25th with new footage and a post-credits tag that will almost certainly connect directly to Doomsday. And an outside VFX studio was reportedly hacked, and leaked footage is being rapidly taken down by Marvel's legal team across every platform. Dr. Doom wants to save the multiverse, or rule it, possibly both, and he has decided those are the same thing. Robert Downey Jr. is playing him. Yelena Belova has the most female screen time in the film. Thor is giving the speech that unites everyone. Cassie Lang is showing up, the Wasp is not. Captain Marvel is sitting this one out, and Spider-Man is apparently being saved for Secret Wars, which, if the plan holds, will be the single biggest convergence of characters this franchise has ever attempted. Avengers Doomsday is currently scheduled for May 1st, 2026. Avengers Secret Wars follows in 2027. Between now and May 2026, there will be more reshoot news, more leaks, probably more copyright takedowns, and eventually, finally, the real trailer dropping at SDCC in a room full of people who have been waiting for this since Tony Stark put on the first suit in 2008. The Feige farewell has been handed out to a lot of characters over the years, but nobody saw it getting handed to Tony Stark himself. Not as a send-off, but as a resurrection into the villain's seat. That is the single wildest creative decision this franchise has made. And I think it might actually work. Here's what I want you to settle in the comments, and I mean I want an actual fight. Is Doctor Doom being played by the same actor as Iron Man a genius move that only Marvel could pull off? Or is it a desperate nostalgia grab that disrespects what Tony Stark meant to this franchise? There is no neutral answer here. One side is right and one side is wrong, and the comment section is where you prove it. If you're here just to tell me I'm wrong about Doom, good. I'm reading every single one. Woof woof.